Currently, I'm the tour guide and the person who's interested in history, the landscape.
This statue links us across the globe and also reminds us of one of the core values of our constitution.
My mother was incarcerated here and she was 6 months pregnant.
All those struggles and all that build-up of consciousness resulted to the Duncan Village Massacre.
The younger generation should be able to know and preserve and protect and know about the heritage and history of that community. I'm Siyabonga Chabavu, born and bred here in East London. Currently, I'm the tour guide and a person who's interested in history, the landscape, as well as the heritage of the province, dating back in the 19th century. What is very interesting about Duncan Village, it first starts with the name itself. Sir Patrick Duncan, who was a person who was a commissioner here in East London. He then bought the piece of land, for these migrant laborers. Then the commissioners at the time, they named it after himself. That's the name, Duncan, Sir Patrick Duncan, is the village of these laborers. That's where this whole township came from. If you can take a drive today and go and see Duncan Village, you will see for yourself that the way it was designed during those years, it's not nice, those one-room houses. However, out of all that situation, the giant of this province, they came up, Reverend Khubusana, Clemens Kadali, those are the prominent figures that were produced by that community in terms of fighting, for the rights, of those communities. Now, at the time here in East London, that period of 1884 to 1895, there has been some number of interesting developments, including the Defiance Campaign of the 1952, where the people, that were leading that, about it has created a lot of awareness, whereby there was also the famous nun from Ireland, Sister Aiden, who was murdered during those riots in 1952. The famous leaders at the time, Abotato Sisulu, Abo Mandela, they used to come down here. They were leading youth league to come and politicize, these people around. So I'm saying it has that background. In 1985, later on, fast forward, that was the climax, of the struggle for liberation of the people of that community. The shooting that took place there, about 27 people were murdered during that riot. It started, from King Williamstown, Kwagai, where there was a funeral of befitting Mxenge. Now people, they came from Kwagai, to Duncan Village. That's where it sparked. When they arrived here, Bafika Kuko, the soldiers trying to block them to enter Duncan Village. It was a peaceful march, but the apartheid forces had to bully innocent people at the time, 1985 or August, by Duncan Village. There are senior people, of course, that they're still alive, including the Duncan Village Massacre. People, that are still live in Duncan Village that can always, tell us and give us more of what took place during the 1985 period.
My name is Kola, not Tikan. I was born and bred here in Duncan Village. The Duncan Village Massacre is the outcome of the struggles that were waged by people in what was called as the border area. From 1976, the nationwide student resistance against bad education, bus boycott of 1983, and student activism in Duncan Village. Also, those issues contributed to what is known as the Duncan Village Massacre. The consciousness of people grew, and they could easily see the bad side of apartheid. The South African Allied Workers Union, which was led by our late leader, Tozamile Kweta. The policy of the trade union was that, yes, it is a trade union, it's concerned with workers' lives in the factory, at the factory level.
My name is Dalutolo Jekwa. I was also a member of the South African Allied Workers Union at the time leading to the Duncan Village Massacre in 1985. I must say that the South African Allied Workers Union had done a lot of work to educate and develop our consciousness, linking what we're seeing in everyday life. There were a lot of problems that we experienced at the time, and it is around those problems that we formed this organization.
So SAU became involved in terms of educating people or workers that they must fight for their own rights in the community level.
What had been made clear to us was that throughout South Africa, Africans were not allowed to own property. So all these houses we were renting under the then 99-year lease. If in one household a father in that household died, what would happen is that family would be moved to Mdantsane and another family would be put in that house.
This massacre, it was hatched in the offices of SAU, and I took it as an official then to the community, to the comrades here. We met at C-section in a house in C-section to hatch this plan as to how are we going to build a resident association which was meant to look at all the problems that people were facing at the community level, like high rents, the harassment by councillors who were threatening people to remove them to Mdantsane and all those funny things. And again, we went, one of the plan was to go into areas of Duncan Village, and we went to identify comrades who were powerful enough to carry the task to its fruition.
Then we went to King Williamstown, and coming back from King Williamstown, then the masses burst. We had a situation where the bottle stores were attacked, and all of the institutions / buildings that were seen to be related to apartheid were brought down. And what actually happened in the process, as could be expected, is that the enemy forces entered the township and shot our people with live bullets, resulting in the death of about 29 people. Among those 29 people was a 6-month-old baby.
All the bad experiences of people in terms of rentals, in terms of forced removals from Duncan Village to Mdantsane. Mdantsane was a homeland, and that is where our own people were experiencing lots of difficulty. It was clear and evident that people were moved from their areas of work to a distant, long place. All those struggles and all that build-up of consciousness resulted to the Duncan Village Massacre.
Clemens Kadali was the founder of the Industrial Commercial Workers Union in South Africa. He was born in Malawi. Then as a youngster, he came to South Africa and stays here. He established, the ICU in Cape Town in 1919. Then they moved and stayed here in East London 1920. He is buried here in Duncan Village. He died in 1951. But his family, they moved his grave and then reburied him in Cambridge. This is Clemens Kadali. Now, he came here as a young man in South Africa, Then, upon his arrival, he sort of championed, the formation of the first trade union movement in this country, Industrial Commercial Workers Union, in 1919. During those years, he sort of championed the working class conditions, the migrant laborers, the dock workers. They've even organized domestic workers. They were all under this umbrella of Clemens Kadali. Most of South Africans, they don't know the role that Clemens played in the formation of the first trade unionism in this country. Before SACTU was born, even before COSATU, this man is a pioneer of that struggle. So he is here in East London. So this year we have to celebrate his life and times of Clemens Kadali. So we are really honored as a younger generation, of people of this part of this province to witness, our ancestor here in the trade union movement. Reverend Dr. Walter Benson Khubusana, he is a pioneer intellectual. He was a theologian, the writer, the politician, as well as the civil rights activist. He was the first black person to represent abantu abamnyama in the Cape Provincial Council in 1910. There's the famous Lock Street Jail, KwaNomalapa. It's the prison for women. That prison was built in around 1880s. Famous politicians were arrested in that prison, especially the women. Now, what excites us is that this year is being declared as Charlotte Maxeke year. Now, that prison, it becomes central in celebrating, and the lives and times of Maxeke. Although Mama Maxeke was not arrested in that prison, but Mama Nomachaka Mkabela, Mama Winnie Mandela, Mama Florence Matomela, Mama Obana, there's plenty of the women that were arrested in that prison. That if you go there today, that prison, you go and see the gallows, they are still there. It needed to be preserved, and be declared as the National Women Museum. Umama Rose Bella Joy, she's the only surviving woman that is still alive who was arrested in that prison. She's 87 years old now. She tells, the painful story of what took place, during those years. And also, there's a lady, Umama Nonyamezelo Mxenge, who was also born in that prison on Christmas Day in 1963. She's still alive. So I'm saying those are the unsung heroes that we want to preserve and protect, their living heritage, so that the rest of the country can know and celebrate these women.
Igama lam lokuqala ndinguTsukumetse, elesilungu lengqesho ndinguRosebella. Ndizalelwe kulaa lokishini indala kwakusithiwa i-East Bank, apho ndikhulele khona. Ndayeka esikolweni xa ndine-16 ndayeka esikolweni. Ndiphele ku-standard 5 kwakudala. Abazali bam kaloku babengafundanga nabo, andakwazi ke ngoku ukugqithiselwa phambili. Ndafuna umsebenzi, ndafumana umsebenzi apha e-Albany Road. Kuthe kwawuvela le nto yombutho, yayisengusathwa ngumayibuye ngoko. Wasixelela into yoba thina abantu bamnyama sinarhulumente, so nanku umbutho ozawusenza sibe norhulumente. Ndathi uphuma kwam emsebenzini ndahamba ndaya kuloo ntlanganiso. Ndawufika phaya kukho utata uGwentsha ongu-chairperson, nooJoe Lengisi abengoonobhala, nooba uMgabela nabanye, ootata uTyikhwe nabanye kandibalibeleyo. Ndathi ndifuna ujoyina umbutho kuba ndifuna uba norhulumente. Bandibuza into yoba ndizawuyimela na le nto, ngoba ukujoyina lo mbutho kuphakathi kobanjwa. Ewe ndizawukwazi, kodwa usemgqithi kuhambe ukhuphe indlu yocinga. Ndahamba ndaphinda xa kukho imithingi ndaya. Ndathi ndizawuyinyamezela. Kaloku xa ufuna into uyanyamezela noba kunjani. Ndajoyina ke ngoku sekungo-51 ke ngoku ngelo xesha. Ndine-17 ndawujoyina kumbutho. Ngo-52 kwakho into yoba apha eMonti kwakungangenwa apha eMonti emva ko-8 apha etawuni. 8:30 wonke umntu ufuneka omnyama aphume etawuni. Eastern Beach wayengayi umntu omnyama Eastern Beach. Sawuhlala nasezitulweni e-Oxford ezizingo-non-white. Kwakho ke loo campaign yokumatshela apha etawuni, sangena apha etawuni ngo-52 ke ngoku. Silulutsha sabanjwa ke. Sasinoomama noosisi ke nathi singabantwana abancinci. Makhe ndandisengumntana ngelaa xesha. Sawuthetha ityala, umama wabanjwe ngumdlezana. Wabanjelwa into yoba ezomamela ityala lam. Kwakufunwa singamanyelwa, umntu azise imali azosikhupha. Sisithi asifuni uphuma, asaphuma ke sahlala apha. I think ndahlala unyaka apha. Andandi noba sasibathandathu na, kodwa ke sasibaninzi esiseleni. Silala ngengubo enye, abanikwa iimethi zokwandlala. Kodwa thina bantu bomzabalazo sasingazifumani ezo methi. Okokuqala nga-4:30 niya eshawarini, avuliwe amanzi phaya abandayo athi qha noba kusebusika noba kunini na. Sahlala ke ndaphuma ke, saphuma ke nabo saphuma nabo apha. Uphuma kwethu ke ngokuna ke akhange siyeke thina uhlasinyuka, ngoba kaloku siyayifuna le nto siyifunayo, siyayinqwenela. Apha ndize kathathu. Igemi ebiyo yokugqibela yile ka-63. Uba sinoba norhulumente sizawukwazi ukukhalaza, sikhalazele ezi zinto sizinqwenelayo uba mazenzeke kuthi. Unoyise lowa uzalelwe apha, ndilapha nomama wakhe. Uzalwe ngoDisemba unoyise lowa, silapha nomama wakhe. Kumhla ke apha ndagqibelisa, zange ndiphinde ndize apha.
Ndinguntomboyise Notrongo Mgabela. I was born here on the 25th of December 1963. My mother was incarcerated here and she was 6 months pregnant, and saphuma apha ndina 6 months old. She almost spent a year here, incarcerated here. So nabanye mama, like Omama Joyi, Bella Joyi, and other political prisoners. But my mom was involved in politics, and she was the chairperson of the Women's League in Border Region then. They would come and detain my mom when I was at school. last time I remember when she was in Cambridge police station, they said you cannot visit her, you cannot see her. So we just sihambe singambonanga. But it was me and my eldest sister. I just heard my mom singing inside the cell. Uneculo ethi unabantu bakho Thixo. I'm sure she was among other omama wehlena beStrongweni when she sang that song, that hymn, unabantu bakho Thixo. And my sister said to the police, that's my mother. Where is my mother? Is here. My mother, and we are not going anywhere up until we see you tell us where my mother is. And then we saw they cannot let us in. And then we went home. What I know is that they were looking for my father at first, but my father was not where to be found. I think I was 10 years old when I realized that really I was born here, because Mama would come and relate all the stories, because my father was arrested as well. And I grew up without my father, because my father was jailed in Robben Island for 18 years. Remember, I was 6 months, and then my father was jailed in Robben Island for 18 years. So they told me that I'm going to visit my father when I was 18 years old, having an ID. The mom, my mother was a father and a mother to us. We are 5. I'm the last one, the 5th one. I remember when we were with the Zinzi Mandela, the Mandela family, because by that time we were visiting our father, our parents in Robben Island, and they were on hunger strike then. We ended up staying there, waiting for the dates again, so that we can be able to see our parents. They allowed us the date to come and visit. And then that was the first time that I saw that Mandela. I was 18 years. And I was very much excited because that was the first time that I'm going to see my father. Utatuhani, Chris, sasingamazi. But sabona njengomuntu okhoyo ngoba uzenjani, ufike nini, but athathe ngotsala nje ingubo ukuthi alale. But fine, strange enough, samgqibelele lapha edining room. Phala sisamboni. Sasimbona ufika kwakhe, asimbona ubumkeli na. Kodwa just immediately after iphumile, sekumnyama phandle ngamapolisa, ayapeta igadi, ayomba iyadi yonke, bayibethe igadi ibe clean. Asiyazi mos sisemunca sebaba bakhangela ntoni. Wayebeva, andani ba wayebava njani na uBra Chris ba wayebava njani, beva njani ba ayeza, because asingamazi bomke nini, samazi ufike nini na, but eqala uvala icango, mosemgezeni khona amacango angxolayo. Sava nje la cango, ba he semkile. So ezo zinto zinjalo zizinto oqonba xa usuzixela abantwana bakho abasibelieve, even xa senzile masambini sizeni apha ndibenzayelwe khona kubo, it's a feeling ba mama really you were born there. Yes, I was born there. Isiseleni ndandizalelwe pha. Qha ke ukhula kwam andifuni uxoka, ndikhule ndiyoyika itrong, because nangala 1985 ye-uprising wavalelwa usister wam. Sazitshisa izikolo, but mna ndandimane ndisinda kuba ndandingafuni itrong. Mhlawumbi ndandinalaa trauma yokubana wena uzalelwe etrongweni. Ndandingekayifuni into, ndiseligwala in fact. Ndandingayifuni into eza ndisa ngasetrongweni. This building ayimelanga uba yile yenza le nto iyenzayo ngoku. Le building bimele uba iyagcinwa ngokwenye yentoni ye-heritage sites, whereby sizakuthatha aba mama kwezinye indawo sibafundisa uthunga, sibachithise yonke le nto uba umntu omdala akayifumani oko unesithukuthezi. Ibimele uba nyhani iphinde ithengwa back, whoever ayiphinde ayithenge, noba nguDepartment of Arts and Culture or uSARA, but this building yona ayiserve ii-purpose ubana bemele uyayiseva. But the mere fact that kubekho i-grace, kubekho i-gallows, that means lena ibema yindawo eyi-heritage site. Whereby sizakuthatha aba mama kwezinye indawo sibafundisa uthunga, sibachithise yonke le nto uba umntu omdala akayifumani oko unesithukuthezi. Ibimele uba nyhani iphinde ithengwa back, whoever ayiphinde ayithenge, noba nguDepartment of Arts and Culture or uSARA, but this building yona ayiserve ii-purpose ubana bemele uyayiseva. But the mere fact that kubekho i-grace, kubekho i-gallows, that means lena ibema yindawo eyi-heritage site. kwa imbali ine-history in itself.
There's also the Heroes Park one at the beachfront. It's very interesting, the Heroes Park one. You know, the premier, the then Omre, as well as the late Mxenge Stofile, they were the ones and that brought the idea, you know, of having this. That Heroes Park is the wall, you know, that has been built at the beachfront, where it has all the famous icons of the Eastern Cape, you know, because Eastern Cape is the home of legends.
I am Daya Apavu, or Apavu as I'm affectionately known. I convene the Heroes Park Board. So it's really a pleasure for me to try and give you some overview of how it came to be and what is our future direction. The whole project was conceptualized by two journalists who we have to acknowledge. The one was Dennis Matsane and Solisa Sikabi. Now, they took the idea of creating a park where we may celebrate our heroes of this province to Premier Stofile, who was our second premier. Preceding him was Raymond Mhlaba, and he was invited to chair our development of the park. The idea was to have the four elements that we have here to show you today as a start for the project. The park, by the way, was designed and put together by no other than Sindile Ngonyama, our famous architect from this region. And the four elements include the wall of remembrance up there with its scroll in the middle. Now, the wall of remembrance is incomplete. It was started and we have been collecting names so that we may do the next phase complete with many other names of all those who sacrificed their lives and took injury in the struggle for our freedom of this nation, of our nation. Then there's that viewing deck over there, overlooking the sea, which is to remind us of our link to the environment and the earth. Another element of the park is this Garden of Heritage. And the Garden of Heritage has indigenous plants in it and a very significant stone called a ringing stone. This is to remind us of the original and dominant cultures that shape us in this region, namely the Khoisan and the Amaxhosa. Lastly, we have the statue of the multicultural man, donated to us by Italy. It was destined for Cape Town, but we managed to convince them that this was the right place to be, as we are just down the road from our famous Mandela's home. Now, this statue is of great interest. Multicultural man, of course, implies that all cultures will come together to make the world a better place. This statue links us across the globe and also reminds us of one of the core values of our Constitution, that we all work together to make a better world for us all.
Ndivuyela into eyi-one. Olam uvuyo into eyi-one bana umama uBhela umdala. And emdala njena le history now niyicoverishile. And ngoku usisele senyathi ekuphela kwaso esinaso. Endicinga uba imbali azanayo apha yile nizawukwazi ngokubana bekade niyithathile kuye, nizawukwazi ubana iye nakwabanye abantwana. Sele naye uzawulala sele kwesengcwabeni, angalala ukuphumla because eyikhavarishile yonke le nto. Ibingumnqweno wakhe lo ubana ngathi ndibhubhe noko sendishiye ntoni ihlumelo sendibaxelela abanye abantwana ubana what happened bekanzi kule ndawo.
The younger generation should be able to know and preserve and protect and know about that heritage and history of that community.